appearing to reveal the turmoil and angst within the Clinton world when news broke that Hillary Clinton had used a private email account as Secretary of State, a situation her soon-to-be campaign chairman called a, quote, hot mess. All this 13 days out from the election. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here today, Sandra Smith, radio talk show host Meghan McCain, Democratic strategist Julie Roginski, and today's hashtag One Lucky Guy, the political editor for townhall.com, Guy Benson. He is outnumbered. Great to have you back.
Hello, ladies.
Nice haircut.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I heard it came with a facial and a
military
massage.
style.
I don't know about that. Trying to look young and fresh or something like that.
All of the above.
Thank you.
All right, big political day. You ready?
Big time.
Let's hit it. We will begin with those leaked emails courtesy of WikiLeaks detailing the apparent frustration and finger-pointing over the penchant for secrecy within Clinton's inner circle after news broke last year about Hillary Clinton's use of a private server. In a telling exchange from March 2015, soon-to-be campaign chair John Podesta and Clinton confidant Neera Tanden appeared to vent about why Hillary Clinton's aides did not release information about her email setup sooner. In reference to former Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills, Tanden wrote this: "This is a Cheryl special. Know you love her, but this stuff is like her Achilles heel or kryptonite. She just can't say no to this bleep. Why didn't they get this stuff out like 18 months ago? So crazy." End quote. To which Podesta wrote, "Unbelievable." Then Tanden answered her own question saying, quote, "I guess I know the answer. They wanted to get away with it." The emails also appear to show that in August of last year, months after the email scandal blew up, Clinton's aides were still struggling with how to convince her to apologize for it all. All right, Julie, I have to come to you first on this. Our Democrat on the couch, and you have not liked this since the beginning because you said this was messy.
Well,
hot mess is what they're saying now.
Yeah, it is a hot mess, and I'm glad that they were saying in private what I was saying in public since this was all revealed, which is it is a hot mess. She should never have done it. When it was revealed that she had done it, she should have come out and apologized and said she made a mistake. And they're right, and I've said this all along, that she has an allergy to saying she's sorry. I think that was their words, not mine, but I may be paraphrasing here. She should have done that. They should have, apparently they did ask her to do that, and she ultimately did it. But I can get their frustration because it's the same frustration I and other Democrats feel about this, which is you made, I guess, a mistake, although it really wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated decision to do this. But once you did it, you should have owned it and apologized for it and moved on, hopefully.
Guy, one of the other things we're learning from these emails is the fact that President Obama knew about this and that there was some chatter in the background among these same people about, well, how do you clean that up? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But just overall, what do you think about the situation?
Well, I think Julie's right on the money here. And the thing that's frustrating, though, is the calculation by Cheryl Mills and Hillary Clinton clearly was, let's set up the scheme for our own purposes. If it's ever discovered, hopefully it never will be, but if it is, let's lie about it constantly. If those lies are exposed, quasi-fake apologize, but not really, and then try to outlast this thing. And Neera Tanden hits the nail on the head. They thought they would get away with it, and it looks like they were right. They've paid a little bit of a political price. They are protected by the Obama administration, and because Donald Trump's the nominee, Hillary Clinton at the moment looks like she's poised to win. That's the demoralizing reality. She probably is going to get away with this.
All right, so the slide just got a little bit steeper with the talk about all of this, because if it were just laying on the ground horizontal, that was one day. Today it's at a pitch. And that is because Donald Trump is now picking up on this on the stump. Others are talking about this. I mean, this is low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I was really fascinated by the insight into the relationship between Hillary Clinton and her staff. It is quite obvious she surrounds herself with yes men and yes women that will never call her out on things that are illegal. One of the quotes is that we're just trying to avoid subpoenas. I actually think that's very dangerous for a leader who's going to become president. You have to make hard decisions. And if you're only surrounded by people who are just going to kiss your you-know-what and give it to you straight, that's a problem. The other thing is, like all Clinton scandals, she's only sorry when she's caught. Clintons are only sorry when they're caught. They're never sorry when they're doing something illegal and potentially, well, they did, in fact, sacrifice
And when that group
secrets.
close to her tells her that she should be sorry
Yes.
and say something to the public. But that being said, what does this tell us, Guy, about who may be working for her in the White House if she is elected president. Cheryl Mills doesn't have a formal role in the Clinton campaign today, but these emails do reveal that she is intimately involved in the decisions being made for Hillary Clinton.
No, Cheryl Mills is at the center of every Hillary Clinton story.
She could have a prominent role in the Clinton
I bet you
White House.
she will. Of course she will. She's been close and tight with Hillary Clinton for basically her entire career. Hillary Clinton trusts her implicitly, as she should. She's gone to bat for her over and over again. She was the recipient of some highly unusual immunity grants by the FBI during the investigation, where she played every role imaginable. She was a subject of the investigation. She was a witness in the investigation. She was given immunity in the investigation. She was Hillary's lawyer, present in her questioning by the FBI.
Right.
This woman's at the center of it all, and they gave her a free pass.
Yep.
It's mystifying.
Well, and she was also, as I understand it, working with classification rights that perhaps she shouldn't have had at that point, as she was looking at this material that definitely had some C's on it.
Untouchable Cheryl Mills. But again, to Megyn's point, I think this is really insightful. Who will Hillary Clinton surround herself with if she's president? Is she going to listen to the people who are emailing privately amongst themselves? This is crazy. This is a mistake. Why didn't they get rid of this 18 months ago, which was sound advice? They didn't take it. She went with the secretive, not sorry advice from her closest people, and I think she'll keep
The one
doing
thing
it.
I will say is the two people emailing apparently were John Podesta and Neera Tanden, neither of whom at the time, I believe, 18 months prior, were involved in the Hillary campaign. And so as a result, they're saying this because they were not there and not involved in this. Hopefully, she will have people like Neera Tanden, who's very capable and very good, involved in her administration as a result.
And they may talk more without email.
Right.
Moving forward.
I will say this. When I worked in the Senate, I worked alongside Hillary Clinton as a
observation.
senator. She had an incredible staff that I think is really second to none. She picks good people around.
All right.
That is ridiculous. She does
not.
not keep good people around her.
She does.
And that's just a total fallacy. Look what they helped get her into. As you said, there are people around her, whether they're friends of hers at the very least, saying, don't do this, don't do these things that are illegal. As I said, she surrounds herself with yes men and women.
Enablers.
Enablers. Who are
Very
just gonna
competent
give her-
people. I'll stand by that any day. She had the best Senate staff of anybody I've ever seen.
All right, well, more from those emails. One of those leaked email exchanges is raising big questions about whether President Obama actually knew about Hillary Clinton's private server, even though he claimed he did not and only learned about it from watching the news, in his words. Watch this clip from March 2015.
Did you know about Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server?
No.
While she was Secretary of State?
No.
No, he said. After that interview, Clinton aide Cheryl Mills apparently sent John Podesta an email saying, quote, "We need to clean this up. He has emails from her. They do not say state.gov. Yesterday, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest stuck by the president's claim that he didn't know Clinton had a private server, saying, quote, "Most people, I don't think, assume they know the arrangements of a particular email system based on the email address. I recognize that some of the president's critics have attempted to construct some type of conspiracy about the communication between the president and the Secretary of State, but they've failed to put forward a conspiracy that withstands any scrutiny." But Donald Trump says the email from Mills is evidence the president knew much more than he lets on.
Obama, he had to know that Hillary was using an illegal server, but he claimed otherwise. So that means Obama is now into the act. And now I understand that despite his hatred of the Clintons, because I know one thing, Bill hates him, but despite his hatred, now I understand why he pushed her, because he didn't want to get caught up in the big lie. He's caught up now, folks. We have to investigate the investigation.
Megyn McCain, how big is this?
I just want to know if Josh Earnest thinks that the American public are stupid enough to be gaslighted into thinking that somehow the president didn't know this was going on. Every single thing Hillary Clinton and her team touches gets infected. Obama is absolutely no different when it comes to this. I think this is going to blow up into a bigger scandal, and I don't understand why the media is not covering
I mean,
this more
Julie,
heavily.
those emails clearly state that the president was exchanging emails with her that did not have a government email address.
Yeah, my question is, if we saw those emails, whether those emails, the header on the email says Hillary Clinton, or whether it says whatever her email address was at Clinton dot whatever the server name was. Because if I get emails from Harris Faulkner, for example, right, it'll come up as Harris Faulkner. It won't come up as your email address. It'll come up just as your name. And the question for me is, what did it come up on his email?
Well,
And when he
sometimes it
received
does. Like if we've emailed back and forth, it might.
Mine
But
comes
when
up with you as just your name.
When
so,
new
yeah.
people email me, no, I get their address.
But he was using a pseudonym himself in
Right.
these emails.
Right.
And so it didn't just auto-populate initially. At some point, he had to look at what her actual email address was, and it was at clintonemail.com, not at state.gov. And what's interesting, too, is some people have said, well, maybe they were just talking about unofficial business, like pals trading kitten gifts or something. But
I doubt that.
I doubt it, too, and so does Huma Abedin.
Right.
We learned from the FBI investigation notes, she was shown an email between the president and the Secretary of State, and she told the FBI, looking at the email, how is this not classified? She saw what was going on in those emails in an unsecure, non-government system.
The president was so definitive, though, in that response that you just saw there. No, he had no idea, he says, and that's all we can go by.
Well, and behind the scenes then, if they were looking at how they were going to fill in the gap between what he said he knew and what the reality was, I mean, that is a hot mess. That is the definition, I believe. So, I mean, this is, I understand there are 13 days to go, and your party probably is hoping just to run out the clock.
Pretty much.
But this could follow her beyond this, because now it is insidious.
I think it's
in the background.
In fairness, I think it is possible that the president didn't know the extent of the scheme and that it was a whole private server in a basement somewhere.
But even if he didn't know all that, what he did know is that her email didn't have a .gov.
I think that's right.
So let's talk political strategy, because Donald Trump is clearly trying to push this issue out on the trail.
It's a smart thing to go after. It's a huge weakness of hers. It shows how corrupt she is. It shows that she believes that she lives by a set of rules and standards that other politicians and other Americans do not. I would stay on this messaging and the message of what a huge disaster Obamacare is. Yep. Stay as far away from everything else as possible. Hit her hard, hit her in the jugular, and as long as he keeps doing that, I think he could make up some points.
Megan's waiting for the pivot that's going to happen any day now.
I'm not, but I think it's intellectually disingenuous to say that Hillary Clinton surrounds herself with the best staffers when we're using example after example after example about how her and her entire team. Let me tell you something. People that work for my father don't believe that we're all above the law. And clearly staffers that work for Hillary Clinton believe not only she, but her entire team are immune from living and working by the same set of laws and standards.
They've been vindicated in that belief, which is disgusting, but it's also a reality, right?
But it's also bringing up, what is she going to do if she becomes president? It's absolutely petrifying.
I just wonder if she's going to walk away from these people. Like, I mean, this is damaging for her.
She's not going to walk away from them
because
they
deal with this?
Listen, these are people that she's been with for 20 years. If she's not walking away from them, they're not walking away from her.
It's a big story.
They know where all the bodies are buried.
Another shakeup in the 2016 race. A new poll shows Donald Trump pulling ahead of Hillary Clinton in a major battleground state as independents appear to be moving into Trump's camp. We will discuss that. Plus, more than 6 years after President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act, it appears to be imploding, with many insurers dropping out and premiums set to skyrocket. Can Republicans seize on Obamacare's troubles, and will it harm Hillary? Just a few days left.
Hillary Clinton in a battleground state of Florida. And as we told you, the 2016 race is heating up in that state, where she is with just 13 days to go until Election Day. A new Bloomberg poll shows Donald Trump is ahead of Hillary Clinton, 45 to 43% in a four-way race there. I alluded to that moments before we went to her. The poll also shows independent voters are narrowly moving over to Trump in that battleground state, which many say is a must-win for the GOP nominee. Guy? Your thoughts?
It's definitely a must-win for him. This is welcome news for the Trump campaign. It's only the second poll in the
What's making the difference?
In the last 16 that have him ahead. Independents, a big difference there in this particular poll. Let's wait and see if it's an outlier or the beginning of a trend. The Trump people clearly hope it's the beginning of a trend. I would also note in this poll, Marco Rubio up 10 points in that Senate race. I'm told internally the numbers are looking more like Rubio plus 4 or 5, Trump down 2 or 3 points.
All right. So when we looked at our electoral map about a week ago that we do here at Fox News, there were some states that had previously gone Republican that were kind of pink. They weren't red anymore. Arizona, your home state, you talk about a trend. Let's pop that up now. Trump ahead 46 to 45. That's within the margin of error, but this is tight, and it's tight a little bit in his favor. Something is shifting.
I mean, you're looking at me. I mean, if you've ever told me a Democrat could possibly win my home state of Arizona in my lifetime, I would have said you were crazy or smoking something. Honestly, if I were him, I would be campaigning hard in some of these states. It's still within his reach to win Arizona. The problem for Donald Trump right now is he already has his base of supporters. And both Hillary and Donald Trump need white college-educated voters and college-educated women. That is the pool that is still left to grasp from. If he is trending with independents, this is a good sign for him. But I think he should be hitting it hard in some of these states states that, like you said, are more pink than necessarily just in Florida.
Well, and when you look at a place like North Carolina, which started, I believe, in-person early voting on October 20th last week, you've had 10 million people plus already cast ballots. Jay Ann Seltzer, the woman who oversaw this polling that we're quoting right now down in Florida, she said, and I think this sums that up pretty well, this poll suggests Trump has more opportunity in Florida than some think is realistic given his poor standing with Hispanics. I think it's a really interesting poll. It says that this race is not done, but you do wonder why Donald Trump is up in D.C. right now and not down in Florida. Well, he's being the businessman. He's rolling out that hotel, and he's still getting a lot of political coverage. You have a big thought bubble over your head. Can we go to you first next?
Of course.
Okay. Meanwhile, you may have heard Donald Trump complaining often about what he claims is the unfair treatment from the mainstream media that he gets. The stunning new survey that shows just how much coverage about him is negative, and that he may have a point in the impact it may have on voters. Stay with us. Well, it seems Donald Trump may have a point when he says the liberal media is ganging up on him. The GOP nominee, the subject of way more negative news coverage than Hillary Clinton, according to a new study. Researchers from the Conservative Media Research Center found a whopping 91% of coverage about Trump on the 3 broadcast nightly newscasts since the summer conventions has been, quote, hostile. The group also found that the major networks spent far more airtime focusing on the personal controversies involving Trump than scandals surrounding Clinton. Look at the minutes. Nearly 3 times as much time coverage on Mr. Trump's alleged misdeeds. While on the Kelly File, Trump running mate Mike Pence citing the study as he defended his ticket's criticism of the media.
Hume likes to say, winners take responsibility, losers blame others. To try to blame these numbers entirely on the media being rigged is not real, is it?
Well, I think, I hear that riff a little bit, that pointing out the overwhelming bias in the national media is somehow, making an excuse. I think he's just making an observation. I mean, Media Research Center just came out with a study of media coverage. It showed that since the conventions, I think the number was that Donald Trump had gotten significantly more coverage, and more than 90% of it had been negative.
Guy, you're already about to start talking. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they're right about that. The media coverage of Trump has been overwhelmingly negative, and the bias against Trump speaks for itself. It's undeniable. I do think it's important to remember, though, not too long ago, this same mainstream media gave Trump about $2 billion worth of free publicity and airtime during the Republican primary, and a Harvard study went through some of the major outlets and the percentage of positive coverage during the primary. CBS News, 66%, New York Times, 63%, Washington Post, 65%. Then he wins the nomination, and surprise, surprise, they turn on him. This was predictable, and it's destructive, and it's hurting him. And this notion that nothing ever affects him, nothing would ever hurt him, some of us argued that wouldn't carry over into the general, and it hasn't.
Well, the Trump campaign is really sticking with this, Julie. Mike Pence went a step further than just slamming the media. He actually went as far as a recent rally calling out an individual reporter for colluding with the Hillary Clinton camp. Watch this.
I mean, it's just amazing. Some of these emails come out. You find out this guy at CNBC named Harwood, he actually, after he moderated a Republican debate, he was communicating with the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign about how he'd been vindicated in his tough questioning of Donald Trump. You got this person who was at Politico who a Clinton operative said that they could do the most shaping if they reached out to her. The shaping of stories. And Vanity Fair just wrote an article touting how the New York Times and the Washington Post brought down Donald Trump.
Julie?
Well, a couple of observations. One is, Guy's absolutely right. The same media is the reason he's the nominee today. And you want to talk to Ted Cruz, there's somebody who's probably going ballistic at the thought that the media is now turning on him when, in fact, the media had made him the nominee. All of them, not just Ted Cruz, but all of them. Secondly, look, John Harwood, who I think is a good reporter, is not on the ballot. And they're wasting their time going after the media because all they're doing is preaching to their own choir. Thirdly, and this is a very important point, if they don't want negative stories about themselves, and they're always going to have negative stories. I'm not pretending the media is going to cover him even fairly. Yes, I do think the media has a certain bias. But I also believe that one way to get the media to not cover your sex scandals is to stop proactively bringing them up. And when Donald Trump stands up at a podium and starts talking about suing women when he's supposed to be talking about bringing the country together at Gettysburg, guess what the media is going to focus on? Your sex scandals, because you are proactively... Everybody in the media, all of us brought it up. All of us talked about it. We talked about it on this very couch the other day because of the fact that he goes to Gettysburg. He's supposed to give some overarching speech. That's
yes,
the theory of the
this
case.
is what you talked about.
And that's what we do.
You're a Democratic guest.
Yeah, and so the problem here is if he doesn't want these sex scandals covered, don't bring him up. Move on, and maybe the media will move on with you. But instead, he's doubling down.
And many of us had moved on to the intense email dump that has come from both the FBI and WikiLeaks. Go ahead.
Some of these journalists that he's pointing out, I do think it's fair to call out people like John Harwood, people in Politico, who are emailing Hillary Clinton's campaign and giving them advice and saying great things about Hillary Clinton. That is, in every conceivable way, political malpractice and should be grounds for firing some of these people. All of that being said, one of my favorite quotes from the movie Primary Colors is, "The media giveth and the media taketh away." And you live by the press, you die by the press. And you have to have a message and a candidate and a campaign that is stronger than when the media will inevitably turn on you, as they do all Republican candidates everywhere, because it is a liberal media that we live and die by.
We want to highlight this moment from last night for those of you who didn't see it. A big moment on the Kelly file when Megyn Kelly and Newt Gingrich got into it over the media's coverage of Donald Trump. The former House Speaker slamming the fact that the network spend more time on negative stories about Trump rather than the accusations against Bill and Hillary Clinton. Watch.
My point to you is, as a media story, we don't get to say the 10 women are lying. We have to cover that story, sir.
Oh, sure. Okay, so it's worth 23 minutes of the three networks to cover that story. And Hillary Clinton, in a secret speech in Brazil to a bank that pays her $225,000, saying her dream is an open border where 600 million people could come to America. That's not worth covering.
That is worth covering.
You want to go back through the tapes of your show recently? You are fascinated with sex, and you don't care about public policy. Now, that's what I get out of watching you tonight.
It didn't end there. Then came this exchange.
Do you want to comment on whether the Clinton ticket has a relationship to a sexual predator?
We, on the Kelly file, have covered that story as well, sir. I will tell you the polls. I just want to hear you
use the words. I want to hear you use the words, Bill Clinton, sexual predator. I dare you. Say Bill Clinton, sexual predator.
Mr. Speaker,
disbarred by the Arkansas bar. Disbarred by the Arkansas bar. $850,000 penalty.
Excuse me, sir. We on the Kelly file have covered the Clinton matter as well. We've hosted Kathleen Willey. We've covered the examples of him being accused as well, but he's not on the ticket.
All right, so that exchange happening last night. We've all had a chance to watch it. Actually, I want to get Julie your response first to this.
Well, I was on Megyn's show the night before, and we were in fact talking about this very subject because the Trump campaign actually pulled their spokesperson from coming on to talk about it. They could have had their opportunity to respond to it. They did not. Secondly, you know, and this is going to sound a little ungracious, but I find it fascinating that the messenger that the Trump campaign is sending out to talk about sex scandals and to talk about an obsession with sex is Newt Gingrich, who at the time that he was impeaching Bill Clinton for a sex scandal was involved in his own secret sex scandal and having an affair. So, you know, if you're going to, sorry, but that's the reality. Maybe Newt Gingrich is not the best messenger to talk about obsessions with sex and sex scandals.
Okay, there's a lot of talking for sure happening about this today. It's trending on Twitter. Everybody continues to get caught up on what happened last night. First, though, I want to let you know that Donald Trump has now responded, congratulating the former speaker on what he said last night. Listen to this.
By the way, congratulations, Newt, on last night. That was an amazing interview. It's an amazing... We don't play games, Newt, right? We don't play games.
Megyn?
I was very uncomfortable watching that exchange. I felt like I was watching my parents fighting. I'm such big fans of both these people. I see both sides of it. I understand Newt Gingrich saying we have to spend as much time and attention on the Hillary Clinton scandals, on these leaks, as we do sex scandals. But I also understand when you're talking about 10 women coming out with these really insane allegations against Donald Trump, it's also the responsibility of Megyn Kelly to cover it. That being said, this conversation that they had, this argument they had, I think people in America are having this argument right now. I think this is a lens into the argument people on the left and people on the right are having. And I wish we would focus on Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, the obsession with sex line was a little silly there, I think, from Newt Gingrich. And there were some piping hot takes on social media last night when this was all going down, with people seeing what they wanted to see. Newt Gingrich destroyed Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly made Newt Gingrich melt down. What I saw to my eyes and ears was an intense exchange between a professional journalist and a partisan in the final weeks of a very emotional campaign. I get that. I don't think that either one of them won the exchange. They both did their job.
Fair enough. Harris?
Interesting. You know, I wish I had seen it in the context. By the time I saw it, right, I'm flipping around. We were watching games and stuff last night. It already had commentary with it, and it was loaded, as you put it, with that commentary. So I had to kind of put all of that aside, watch the video on its own, and I agree. I mean, 13 days to go. I'm not surprised that I see a person who is a surrogate, if you will, at least a supporter of Donald Trump's, coming from that point of view that hard. That being said, he took it personal. And that has somewhat backfired at times during this campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
You know, find somebody to if you want to stay on the subject, and I think it's crazy to stay on it for the Trump campaign, but if you want to go down this crazy road, get Kellyanne Conway. Get somebody, get a woman, and more importantly, get somebody who's not Newt Gingrich or Rudy Giuliani, who don't have their own skeletons on this very same subject in your closet.
And to get Newt Gingrich's response, and he just responded an hour ago on his Twitter account saying, for the record, Megyn Kelly was wrong. I don't have anger management issues. I do have media bias issues.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Some are calling it a political gift for Donald Trump and the Republicans after the White House announces Obamacare premiums will skyrocket by double digits next year. So can the GOP take advantage of this news? And could it be a game changer? Less than 2 weeks left.
A possible political gift for Donald Trump and the Republicans after the White House announced Obamacare premiums will skyrocket by double digits next year. And now the Associated Press is pointing out that they hope to seize all those surging costs to help them on Election Day. While barnstorming Florida yesterday, Donald Trump slammed Obamacare, saying it's blowing up and Hillary Clinton wants to double down on it.
It's killing our small businesses. It's killing individuals. And it's no good. Deductibles are so high you can't use it. You'll never get to use it. And it's going to get worse. And Hillary Clinton wants to keep it. She wants to spend a fortune on it, wants to keep it. And your numbers are going to get up, and it's going to get worse, worse, worse. Repeal it and replace it.
Clinton's communications director, Jennifer Palmieri, says Hillary Clinton wants to fix the law. Here that is.
She's put forward a plan that would help address making health insurance more affordable, both through a public option and a Medicare buy-in. But what we shouldn't do is what Donald Trump would do, which is to throw away the gains that we have made in terms of 20 million people having access to coverage, and also the protections that the Affordable Care Act provides in terms of lifetime limits, limits on lifetime.
I tell you, it's a rare day when the feds and the healthcare companies, the insurance companies, all get on the same page. I mean, we saw with United Healthcare, with Aetna and others, that there were problems with the premiums and all this, and that people were going to suffer. So when she says retain all the good things that it's done, what about all the millions of people that are coming off the rolls right now because companies aren't going to play in the same way?
Yeah, no, the law is failing on its own merits, and that spin from the Clinton campaign is literally laughable. They're saying, oh, she has a plan to fix this. This is her plan. People forget about this. President Obama, when he was a candidate in 2008, he put out a different health care plan. The Obamacare plan with the individual mandate tax, that was Hillary Clinton's proposal. She's the godmother of Obamacare. Now it is spiraling down, as we predicted that it would, and she's going to ride in here and say, don't worry, everyone, my plan's failing. Let me fix it with more government, more spending. I don't think so. And every Republican down ballot should be hammering away at this. Kelly Ayotte, New Hampshire, has a great ad out today. They should be following the lead, and thank God Trump is talking about it.
The most effective attack ad on my father's campaign has to do with going after Obamacare and how it's been a disaster since its inception. This is something I don't think Republicans, independents, and Democrats are responding to. I could have said it better than you. She is the godmother of this. When your husband is going out on the campaign trail and talking about what a disaster Obamacare is, the idea that you're somehow going to, quote, fix it, I just don't believe it. She should get as far away from this as possible and say we need an entirely new plan. Yes.
You know what's interesting about what you're just saying? So when Bill Clinton said this was the craziest thing he'd ever seen, I'm paraphrasing him, but only a tiny bit, because I'm pretty sure that's what he said. He didn't say, this is how my wife would fix it. He was, I would imagine, Julie, encouraged in a short little while to go back and clean that up. But it might have been interesting to get that honest take that he was giving and then get an idea of what that plan actually would be.
But just turning this into politics today with 13 days left to go, if it's been such a disaster since its inception and we have been reporting on all the problems that it has had, why would we expect that this is going to have any significant impact on Hillary Clinton's campaign with a few days left if it hasn't had that much of an impact up till now?
Because of the report that came out 2 days ago with the double-digit premium increases.
So do you expect a big political impact?
I think it is having a political impact, and it also requires focus of the campaigns. And Republicans can say the last time Republicans lost really badly and Democrats controlled everything was 2008, and in 2009 and 2010, the Democrats jammed this thing through. We cannot give them control of the government again.
Here's the problem politically, and also the advantage politically for Republicans. The advantage politically is this came at precisely the right time, and you're absolutely right. If the Republicans were to stay on this nonstop and not talk about all the myriad things that Donald Trump has
Megyn Kelly, for example.
Megyn Kelly, or talking about sex scandals and how he's going to sue women, this would be a good idea to do for the next 13 days nonstop. The problem is that these premium hikes are not going to be felt until next year. And so you're theoretically telling people that you're going to be screwed. The people who are screwed already don't like this plan, but they're already baked into not voting for her. If this is what you're not voting on.
Though, this is
different. It's not hitting the pocketbooks yet. It
right?
is, but it's not.
So they're already having this conversation, and that's like saying, I'm not going to plan for next year. I'm just going to wait till it hits me.
No, because unfortunately, and this polling shows this repeatedly, whether it's tax hikes or anything else, until it actually starts, property tax hikes on the municipal level.
But the bills are coming down, Julie. The
but
bills are
they're
arriving
not,
in the mail with the new rates.
But they're not arriving in the new rates significantly until probably early next year.
No, I think you're wrong about that.
Yeah, the enrollment conversation is happening right now. I would say this, though, because I hear you say it, I hear others say it, that Donald Trump is not staying focused on this. If you've watched the last few of his stump,
it's not complicated. It really isn't.
I mean,
just stay on message.
He is
stay
talking
on the narrative.
about
You're asking him to pivot.
The problem is, even if he's staying on it on a stump speech today, what's trending on Twitter is Megyn Kelly and Newt Gingrich. But if you get all your surrogates out,
yes, you can.
You can. Yes, you can. I think you can, and I think if you have, he also commented to Newt Gingrich. Great interview last night. Stay on the specific messaging. People
that is
will
true.
Respond.
All right, we'll move on. Hillary Clinton Dodging the subject of Obamacare's troubles, sitting down for a lighthearted interview on Univision, reaching a largely Latino audience. But some of her answers are raising some eyebrows. We'll talk about it.
Clinton also pointed out that her granddaughter, Charlotte, who just turned 2, is learning Spanish. So when she's in the South, she somehow has a miraculous Southern accent. When she's on the Breakfast Club, she talks about how she carries around hot sauce in her purse, like the Beyonce song. She's anybody to anybody at any time.
Hot sauce is good, by the way. Very good.
But that's strategy, though, right, Julie?
I have a confession to make. I, too, love Mexican food. And my son is, too, learning Spanish. So I guess I'm pandering to the Latino community also. But so what?
It's a trend of what she does depending on the audience.
Of course, she's a politician. Lo and behold, politicians pander to constituents.
Does that strategy ever fire back in all of your years as a strategist?
If you do it subtly, probably not.
But remember how we first saw her a year ago, walking into a Chipotle where nobody recognized her in her dark glasses.
She was eating Mexican food. There you go. Nobody even recognized her. And so I guess it's true that she loves Mexican food, although I don't know if Chipotle's really the best Mexican food.
You guys are just so cynical.
You're
so cynical. There is no pandering here. Hillary Clinton is just an authentic Mexican abuela.
Gosh.
She loves an enchilada from time to time, and you're just all over her case.
I gotta kind of tell you, I agree with Julie. I love Mexican
food, and best Mexican food. I want to hear the most controversial thing I'll ever say on this show. Best Mexican food is in Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
I
know, Megan. I know.
I'm from Arizona.
Look what's on this.
I know your head's gonna explode. I know.
Work. Your father has run. Arizona is a border state. Is this something that your dad feels the need to do?
No, it doesn't work. I'm telling you, for the average American watching a Univision, if she's saying
what matters, the same thing that matters to everybody, the economy.
That's what works on top of everything else. And by the way, that is blasphemy to say that the best Mexican food's in Boston. It's at the TP in Arizona and Phoenix. That's where it is.
Whoa, showdown here.
Did you see the video of her dancing?
It's Benedito in Tucson.
Bailando there.
Right?
The point is, it's not Cambridge, Massachusetts, is what you're saying.
And nothing like a good mariachi band.
Just get me a margarita,
please. It's the trend. Her Southern accent in the South, talking to a black radio show, talking about how she keeps hot sauce in her purse, which is a lyric from a very popular Beyonce song. This is a trend that she has done over and over and over again. She wears Yankees caps when she's in New York, Cubs caps when she's in Boston. I mean, she's anybody to anybody.
Quite the same thing.
Chicago.
Oh my goodness.
World Series, man.
I know.
Don't talk about the Cubs.
I know nothing about baseball. I apologize. But I'm also not going around with different hats pretending I'm anything other than...
I don't know. I just wonder when groups of people, blacks, Latinos, when they look at the state of their lives and the economy and how they feel, and the things that you're constantly talking about with us, Sandra, about that's really why people go to the polls.
Yeah, I don't know that
this kind of stuff matters.
I don't know that kind of pandering, if it is that, or truthfulness, if it's going to actually win over any voters, when obviously what they care about is immigration and economic issues.
Yeah. The only thing I care about right now is getting a quesadilla because I am starving.
All right, transparent.
There she goes.
We're coming right back.
Thank you. All right, more Outnumbered in just a moment.
I told you. 13 days to that big showdown, and already, as we've been talking about, millions of people have done early voting. So this is really going to be interesting going in because we'll get to find out all the answers. It's been great to see you.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
All right. And I do love the haircut.
You're kind.
Thank you, Guy Benson.
Thanks, guys.